Welcome, I'm Rick DiClemente. This is Astrology Unplugged for October 6th. Things are happening everywhere. I think this is about episode 7. I'm not sure, but thanks for joining us. I'm out of Pittsburgh area. And tonight we will be going with part 2 of what was not finished last week, which was a review of all the 12 signs and what do I think when these people come to my office, what am I looking for? So last week I took my time and we got through Scorpio. So tonight we'll start on Sag and do the last 4 signs. Also, you will find as you examine the later signs of the zodiac, they become more complex. They just do. We started with Aries last week, which is a very simple sign. I always like teaching when Marilyn is there and the cats are crawling around on their shoulders. We're going to start with Sag. Now, what I'm trying to say is when a Sag comes to see me, I might see a Sagittarius with so much Scorpio that I'm not worried about the Sag energy. I might help them express their own Scorpio. Depends on the chart. But basically what I'm trying to show you with the last 4 signs is when these people come to me and I'm talking about what are they doing if they're having trouble expressing that energy? What am I looking for? What naturally keeps them out of whack? Okay, so obviously when you have a Sag can be much more complex than you think. You can also be a person with too much Jupiter. And Jupiter is so overrated. Everybody thinks it's love and light and everything's going to work out when they see Jupiter anywhere. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. After 35 years of doing this, in my lifetime, the planet that caused me the most trouble in my life has been Jupiter. I'm not going to go into why, but I mean, by a far margin. It can be absolutely wonderful too. The problem with Jupiter is this. And it's linked to their power. Their power is to let things roll off their back. Don't worry about it. Things slide off their back. And you see a lot of that energy with Trump. Trump is a Gemini. He's got very strong Sagittarian traits. And so it's very nice to be around Sagittarian energy because they teach you, and just by being with them, you don't worry about stuff. Let things slide. Don't worry about it. You know, but that's where they get this reputation also, which sticks to them pretty good of promising and not delivering. This is very, very common. And I hate to say this for the men in the world, but most zodiacal features, the men will have more problems with it than the women. The only sign I know where the women have more problem than the men is Gemini. Gemini women will manifest the dark side more than the men. The other 11 signs, I will have much more problem with the men, especially the fire signs. So with Sag, is a fun-loving, they want to travel, they want to expand, they want to go do things. And now when I was writing the book, it struck me as I had to keep realizing, being a double Capricorn, I had to realize that these people are pre-Saturnian. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. They're pre-Saturnian. In the old days, which is most of the history of astrology, Saturn was the boss. He was the last one you could see, pre-telescope. He got the ice rings around him. And Jupiter was known as the Great Benefic, still is today. And still so many people calling Saturn the Great Malefic. Well, what I realize is you have to have an energy in you, and you have to have an energy in the zodiac that knows no boundaries. It's slightly different than Pisces. It's not boundless, it's just unrestrained. Jupiter in Sag doesn't understand Pisces yet, even though it's co-ruler, because it's not a universal mindset, Jupiter. It just wants to take what it has and expand it. And that's why I read all these books, and I really had a hard time figuring out what does Jupiter mean in the birth chart. You can ask 50 astrologers, and you'll get 50 different answers. What does it mean in the birth chart? And the best thing I came up with, which is kind of silly, you know me. What's it like when that van of teenagers pulls up at your house, screeches to a halt, and the door's open, and they say, "Get in"? What do? And your Jupiter sign will show me what you do. My Jupiter's in Aries. I jump right in the van. Where we're going once we get moving. Other people have, don't shake your head, Karen. Other people have Jupiter and Capricorn. They're much more careful. Jupiter and Virgo people, really, before they go on a trip, they got everything in that coin. They got it all tied up. They got it in baggies. They got extra rubber bands. Jupiter and Pisces people, they go because they have faith in what's happening. So it's not about going on a trip, but it's going, how do you go on the trip of life? Jupiter indicates how do you go forward with your life. Jupiter and Taurus people go very slowly, plodding along carefully. So when I get a Sagittarian, they're hard to pin down. Hello, Jim, iPad. Hello, Joe. James Brown, man, it's been a long time. Good to see you. He and I used to be partners with Karen DeBerry in Los Angeles. I don't think he can hear me yet. Anyhow, so the Jupiter influence is much like Mars and Aries. It just wants to go unimpeded. Aries just wants to go unimpeded, get out of my way. Jupiter wants to go, and if something's in the way, it kind of BS's itself around it. Oh, it won't worry about it. Oh, that bill's not coming for 2 more years. Oh, it'll only be 2%, and it's 5 years away. Don't worry about it. And you can see what Pluto did in the wonderful sign of Sagittarius. Look at how we built up to 2008. Look at Pluto and Sag, 1995 through 2008, when we had credit cards everywhere, and when we expanded like crazy. We got in big, deep trouble with credit and with the housing market, and then it all crashed when Pluto hit Capricorn. So the thing you have to do with a Sag is you've got to hope that there's a healthy Saturn around, or a healthy Virgo around, or a healthy Taurus energy around to tie them to the earth. If not, they'll just keep on going in a flippant manner, and they will change the subject, and they're very closely tied to Gemini. Sag Gemini, that's exactly one of the key problems in Trump's chart, is the Gemini Sagittarius axis, because both sides are very evasive.
Rick, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Just go back one jump to Jupiter and Aquarius. What would that mean? What would that?
Jupiter and Aquarius is a wonderful thing. You see that you saw that beautifully with Bernie's wife, Bernie, Jane. Jane was just so Jupiter and Aquarius. Come on, let's all go together. I'm going, but we're going. Hey, and she's a Libra. No, that's not a Libra thing. Hey, we're going together. That's an Aquarian thing. So Jupiter is, we're going, but we're going to have guitars and food, and it's all of us. See? So it's a very positive thing. It goes with great optimism, but it's always thinking about the others in the group. How are we going to do? Is that what you have?
Yeah, I have it in Aquarius.
Yeah. Well, yours is not only in Aquarius, yours is at the top of the chart, squaring the ascendant. And that's why you've always been very good having people over. We all learn together, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very buoyant place for it. The places you don't want Jupiter, it's exalted in Cancer. You don't want it in Capricorn. It's naturally unable to express itself in Capricorn. Jupiter and Gemini, I know Elke has a phenomenally strong Jupiter and Gemini, and that's why she's just totally gathering information and exchanging it. And she has a T-square right to Jupiter and Gemini. She has that need to dig up stuff, and yeah, she's wacko, and give it out. Okay, so the main thing in the chart of the Sag is can you stop it? For example, I've had very upset parents drag in their 15-year-old Sagittarian son or daughter to see Rick. And I get to a point, I'm reading the child's chart, and the child does not want to pick up any chores, does not want to have any responsibility, and they leave my office and there's nothing I can do. It's a drag. They don't want to do it. Well, I'm not going to put stakes to their hands. They don't want to do it. So Jupiter has to be dragged, gnawing, and gnashing of teeth until it gets to the point, hopefully at the Saturn return, when it can start to understand and accept responsibility. Because Jupiter is not made to put burdens on itself. It's just not made to. You can analyze and theorize all you want, but that's the one thing you got to watch for. Promising, not delivering, being a used car salesman. Most of them are very nice. They're lots of fun. Look at Canberra. Lots of fun person, very positive. But that's the thing you got to watch for. Any questions on Sag or Jupiter? I thought Sag is pretty well explained in the book. Who said
Marta here.
Hi, Martha.
Hi.
What sign are you, Martha?
I have my Jupiter in Virgo, but my partner has it in Taurus. So it's kind
What is your sun sign?
of Pisces.
Your partner is a what?
I'm a Pisces. He's a Virgo.
That's unbelievably common. They're everywhere. Jupiter and Taurus, it's kind of tough, especially with a Virgo, because you see Tauruses don't like things happening quickly. Don't blow that balloon up too fast. Don't invite too many people over. It wants to take its time. It likes things that grow on it slowly and steadily.
Right.
Patient, kind,
Yeah.
but they don't like things to happen in a fiery way.
Right.
I just got a chat question. Sag daughters, and you hit the nail on the head when they were teen. That was a handful. Yeah. What they do is they don't want you to worry about it. If you legitimately have something to worry about, they turn around and make it look like it's your problem. That's a tough part, a very tough part of Sag. And I was very serious in this book.
Is there a more serious side of Sag?
I'll get to that question in 1 second. I warn people in this book about how Sages will needle you and you'll wonder, are you joking or not? And they're really being serious, but they sound like they're joking, and they're not joking. And that's what they get away with, is sticking you with something that they really wanted to stick you with. Because fire signs don't want to stick themselves. They don't want to blame themselves. It's you. Is there a serious sign? Yes. There's a very, look at John, look at the double Sag. John, who's our philosopher, comedian late at night?
Stuart?
Yeah, double Sag. You see he jokes about stuff. He's very, very Sagittarian, flipping around. But you see he gets mad and stuff. They're cause-oriented. They're the 9th sign of the zodiac. They can be very, very serious. It's just that look at where they are in the zodiac. You can learn so much about the zodiac by looking at where the sign is. Look left, there's Scorpio. Look right, there's Capricorn. How serious can he take it? That's why he gets to a point where he just kind of chills and say, let it go. Now, you're not going to always see 5 planets in Sag like you see with Ann Coulter. But her problem is 5 in Sag, and they're all square to Saturn and Pluto.
Oh boy.
So it really brings out the worst in her. Okay, so it's really a pretty good sign. It really is, and that's the one thing you got to watch. Now, Capricorn is really, really pretty different. It is not usual that Capricorn lays their trip on somebody else. Capricorns have some things that are very serious. They all have duty, responsibility, and get things done. No. They're based on 3 tenets. and you can't even shake them. Hello, Donna Spittler. Duty, responsibility, and making sure. I don't care what these books say. I'm going to mute your audio. There we go. If you want to understand Saturn, and you want to understand Capricorn, and I'm a double, and my wife was a single, and my father was a single, so I know about Capricorn. If you want to understand about Capricorn, no, it's not trying to dampen your spirits. No, it's not trying to limit you. No, it's not trying to give you arthritis. Its nature is to make sure. That explains everything. That's what the ice ring is around Saturn. You got to have some fatherly energy in the zodiac that keeps it all together. And for years and years and years, what was Saturn? He's the energy that keeps it together. So you have to battle back with Capricorn in several ways. And in most cases, and I've been around long enough, in most cases, you're not going to make a lot of progress with Capricorns. They can be fun, they can be wonderful spirited, depends on the rest of the chart. But if they're hung up with that being careful, what does society think of me? I've got a color inside the box. You're not going to make much progress with it. The only thing that helps Capricorn in that vision is age. As they get older, they start to loosen up. They start to try less. They start to not try to be so sure all the time. And I think a lot of it is because as they age, they realize how much they missed in life, and they start to loosen up. So when you have a Capricorn, you got to teach them, much like teaching Virgo. They're very similar to Virgo. Where Virgo is fix things, Capricorn is make sure. So you've got to teach the Capricorn to make sure that they don't make sure all the time. That's really true. What's the vision I used in here of the guy baking a brick? He's baking a brick, and he forms the brick, and he's got it in the oven, and he's sitting there on the log with all his friends.
Sound is on for me.
Huh? Yeah. Well, he keeps walking around, and they say, sit down, the brick is in the oven. You made it, right? We got to wait 2 hours? Sit down. Well, he keeps with it. The problem with Capricorn is that sense of duty and responsibility and making sure is so strong that where is the room to let life come in? Capricorns are very reverent and will say the right words during the Latin Mass, but are we really feeling it?
Yeah, good, Greg.
Are we really feeling it? I'm going to ask everybody to mute their microphone because I'm getting some extraneous sound. Jim, I'm hoping that's you from Los Angeles, the chiropractor. Is that you, Jim? I think it's the first time I've ever seen you, but I've known you for 10 years. Anyhow, hi, Grace. So with the Capricorn, you've got to teach them to quit being sincere. They got to stop trying to control everything. Virgo is similar. The control freak of the zodiac is Capricorn. Why? Because they're to make sure. Well, how do you do a job and make sure without being controlling? So when you do reach, Karen, when you do reach these higher Capricorns, they're wonderful people. Wonderful people because they're very adult-like, they're very cognizant of everybody, their place in society. They're opposite Cancer. And I can't express enough. Cancer is about taking care of me. I've got to make sure that I'm okay. And that's natural. And Capricorn is, I've got to make sure we're okay. And that's really a big deal. So you got to help the Capricorn to loosen up. You want some Sag in there. You want some Neptune in there to transcend their worldliness. I did a chart yesterday. I think, Susan, we were talking about your dad. And your dad had all these Capricorn planets and Moon, Pluto, and Cancer. And he didn't really understand that he had a self. He was so identified with being the businessman. And he's 87 years old now. And he's starting to see that he is an individual. And he's more than just a Capricorn. Okay, 1 second. I'm a Capricorn ascendant from Marguerite. I keep wanting to call him Margaritaville. Pisces, we're very similar, you and I. Elaborate on how we have to learn the opposite signs' strengths. Okay, yeah, I can do that. It's done very well in the book. I cannot express to you how important this chapter is in here called The Six Polarities. Go read it again. Go read it 5 times. If you sit there and go, oh, I don't know how to interpret a chart, you're not going to interpret till you understand the polarities in your heart. Aries. What about me? Libra. What about us? Libra is, you've seen them. They're a duck out of water if they don't have an us. Aries, they're indifferent. You said that whole balancing point. Look at the Taurus Scorpio. So critical. And I don't care if I'm out of whack here and out of order because this is unplugged. And that's what unplugged means, Karen, right? She's used to it by now. She's had 10 years of my lesson. Taurus is very overrated in terms of money. Money, collection, money. Taurus is about self-worth. What do I value? What are my things, my stuff? Scorpio is, oh my God, me and you get together. Look what we can compile. Look what we can compile together. This is why it's so critical that you understand these 6 oppositions, especially the last ones are most important. Gemini Sag is a little harder to understand. Gemini's my thinking. It's a local thing. It's not deep. Sag is a broad mind. The world, what do we think? Political thought, government thought, philosophical thought. So the Gemini is the smaller mind. The Sag is the bigger mind. Very important that you understand is when you start seeing oppositions. You start seeing transits and you're trying to explain. Cancer Capricorn is very simple. Cancer is glued to, I got to take care of me. And that includes the babies. But even the babies are an extension of, I got to take care of me. They just got to. And that's why they're water and they're leaders and they're good at taking care of their feelings. Capricorn doesn't have that sense. They have the sense of, I'm the father. I'm responsible for all of you and the mess you just made. I got to pick up all this stuff, take care of you, get you out of school in the morning. I'm the responsible one. Mother, father. The Leo Aquarius is very misunderstood. I was thinking about yesterday, I had an epiphany. Leo is about my story. By God, look at what I did. Why do you think Leos are so good at slapping their kids on the back? And look at my kid. Look what my kid did. It's about me creating. Look what I did. And the child, the self gains confidence. Coming out of Cancer, it gains confidence. They're not trying to keep you from seeing the limelight. In some cases, they are. Some cases, they see the world as finite. But it's largely about me. And I was with several Leos this week. And they can be wonderful people. But sometimes I'll get on the phone and they want to take up the whole hour, tell me their story. And I say, well, you want to pay me to sit there and listen for an hour? And I say, I don't want to hear this story. Let me talk. I'm going to give you a reading. Then you talk. Because I'm trying to get through to something useful. They need to tell you about their story. Aquarians could care less. Aquarius is our story. That's why these planets that are spinning around right now are straining. Can't you feel the planets are straining to get the hell out of Capricorn? We've had so much of this stuff. Hi, Carla. The planets are straining to get into Aquarius, where our solutions lie. We're so tired of hearing this pillar falling down, this pillar falling down, this corruption, this corruption, this corruption. There's so much. We need to get into Pluto and Aquarius, where we start being like Liza, start thinking about the whole, what's good for the masses, what's good for us, and seeing I want to buy the world a Coke today, right? But we're not done. We've got 7 more years of Pluto and Capricorn. Then the age of Aquarius is coming. So the Leo-Aquarius opposition is about me and my expression, us and our expression. Now, the pinnacle. This is more important than any of them. You got to understand how critical the Virgo-Pisces axis is. This is true if you've got a lot of Virgo, if you've got a lot of Neptune. It's the Virgo-Pisces axis. Virgo is about what is separate, what needs fixed. This is separate. I need to look good. I need to cut my hair. I need to look good. Get this job done. This thing needs fixed. Let's work. Let's fuss. Pisces, let it go. Let it go. Let it slide. Let it flow. Well, a Virgo can typically, and this is very touchy, a Virgo can get in a lot of trouble if they see their own Piscean parts or people around them that are Piscean. They can see them as bums. You're trying to slack. You're being irresponsible. You're being non-caring. You're not stepping up to the plate. Well, sometimes the Pisces person's being a bum, and they're right. And sometimes they're not, and the Virgo is just not understanding flow. I don't care what anybody tells me. The zodiac is about flow. Flow. Can you flow in an educated, responsible, healthy way? Not the bum sitting on the beach with a surfboard. That's the abuse of Pisces. So if you have too much Pisces, you need the Virgo. You got to have both. You can't just sit on the beach and suck from seashells and hope to live to 80. You got to have the Virgo responsible, get up, get off your butt, get to work. So you need to have both. You need to have both. But Virgo Pisces is really critical because Virgo is about what's different, what's separate. Pisces is about what's the same and what's all one. And the zodiac is so beautiful. It's so exquisite. The way it evolved to becoming giving love, mutable water, oneness. Mutable water, oneness. Pisces. So, I hope that answered your question, Elkie. Yes, ma'am. It's all in the book. I encourage you again, we made it short, to read the chapter on the 6 polarities that really help you. And I found with my class, when I started pounding on them to learn more about the polarities, they all got a lot better. Their readings got better, their understanding got better, etc. Any questions so far? I just spent a few minutes with, before we started with Amy, and we were going over Amy's mom's chart, and Amy's mom chart had a bunch of Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. 3, 4, 5, and 6. This woman couldn't win. Because when the Leo spoke, the Virgo got upset. When the Virgo spoke, the Leo got upset. When the Cancer started to say something, the Cancer is going to whine. They're going to whine. They need to whine. I don't feel good. That's the party that doesn't feel good. It needs expressive feeling. When I get with Cancers and they're moody, I tell them, keep being moody. You need to be moody. Tell people to shut up around you. Leave. You don't like it. I'm moody. Now, if they're moody all the time, you got a problem. But Cancer is that part of you, I'm hurt. I need some love. I need to express myself. Well, what do you think the Virgo and the Leo part said? So Amy's growing up with this woman trying to understand how this Virgo woman's getting along, and this Virgo and Leo's trying to get along with this Cancer energy. And the woman didn't have any Capricorn, any Aquarius, any Pisces, without the house structure. So we don't know. I mean, it was very hard. So I think that Amy's mom just was in a constant, still alive, in a constant mental battle that she appears to be finally winning, and that's really good. But you can see how much of reading a chart is just sensing what do they have a lot of, and you need to counterbalance it. One moment. And Amy, my mother, is a Virgo too, yes. Okay, so you get to Aquarius, and Aquarius, and it's not because Liza's sitting here twisting my foot. I really think in a lot of ways it's the finest sign of the zodiac. I don't mean that in a judgment way. I mean it in the sense that it doesn't have to struggle for individuality. It's not concerned about self-worth. It doesn't have any problem gathering or explaining information like Gemini. Usually Aquarians are not going to have emotional problems. Sometimes they can. Their number one problem, without a doubt, is they're really stubborn. They won't listen to anybody. Now, Liza's not too bad, but I've known Aquarians who really, look, your foot is falling off. You really should go to the hospital. I don't think so. The Aquarians just have it all. They're the epitome of the individual. The zodiac's fighting through 11 stages to finally get that individual standing on top of the zodiac in Capricorn, and finally in Aquarius, you have the total shaped, finished human being. But what you don't have is the flow. You don't have the surrender. You have the Aquarians that are ever ready to run out the door, ever ready to, oh no, you're not trapping me. They're just split. They just get them split, gone, quick. The biggest problem by far, and you're not going to solve this is just existential, it's in their nature, is they are aloof. They are cool and they're aloof. And it was said long ago, and I think this is true. There are 3 signs, in a sense, that don't really bode well with a relationship. It's Scorpio, it's Aquarius, and it's Pisces, because they're all ruled by outer planets. And the outer planets, it's kind of like Mother Teresa's married to Jesus. The outer planet people are married to that outer planet. And even though Scorpios are in love with their partners, they're more in love with that very cold, distant boss called Pluto. So that's one reason Aquarians are so aloof, is they belong to Aquarius. You will never find them. You will never find them. They're so big. Aquarius is the top of the mind. Pisces is beyond it, the unboundedness. So Aquarians, you need to get some emotion in them. You want to see personal planets in there, some Cancer, some Gemini, some Taurus in there. Liza pointed out well years ago, we worked hard in the book to express the right words, believe me. And you have self-oriented and other-oriented. And Aquarians can be so other-oriented. You get people 5, 6 planets in Aquarius. There is nothing you can do with it. Nothing. I'll show you charts you won't even believe. There's no way you could sit down and say anything. You just have no idea what to do because they're so out there. They're just so, they're so, what's the woman's name that wrote the Chiron book? Clow. Barbara Ann Clow. Melanie Reiner, both Aquarians, both brilliant, both wonderful people. But they're so out there that these are actually the people, the Aquarians and the Pisces, these are the ones that pull in that stuff from way on beyond Pleiades and make sense of it, and they actually do have a connection. But at the next minute, you wonder where in hell they're plugged into because they're so far out. You just don't know. And I'm sure, Elke, you studied a lot of these people. So you don't want too much of anything. You don't want too much Taurus. You don't want too much Aquarius. You need a blend of things. So with the Aquarians, you need something to help them to be not so stubborn, so that they will at least consider what somebody else says. They're fixed air, right? They're fixed to their thinking. What Aquarians are always doing is putting the big puzzle together. Whether you're looking at Paul Ryan, whether you're looking at the woman who was in Alaska, Sarah Palin, Glenn Beck, who are born one day apart. They can be very dangerous people because they thought things through so deeply and analyzed that they got a complete world mentally. But somebody didn't show it's based on the wrong fundamental block. They can be very dangerous. They can also be extremely wonderful, like Ed Schultz or like FDR, where they do have a bigger picture put together, and it's fabulous. So it's very hard to influence them mentally because they've been building their own picture all their life. So you got to have with them some water, some give to it, etc. But usually you're going to let them alone. You know, the two people, I've told you this, Karen, the two people that come see me all the time: Virgo women, Aquarian women. Virgo women, Aquarian women. Virgo women, I believe, because they want to be in line with what the goddess wants. Aquarian women, because and the men too. Aquarians come because they care about how their mind is. They care about the way people think. They're fascinated. They want to hear all these advanced principles. If you ever have the feeling that you're overblowing somebody by frying with too much information, well, the Aquarian will stay an extra hour, 4 more hours, because they got the high intense mind. They can do it. Finally, the toughest sign to talk about, without a doubt, and that's what this whole book's based on, Pisces. Let me check the chats here. Oh, Canada. Is that why an Aquarian man many years ago was so afraid of my depths and feelings? Yeah, that's exactly right. Because the one lesson that remains in the zodiac, it's very heavy. If I let go of me, I'm going to die. That's in all these spiritual manuals. It's the fear of oblivion. And what really is the death of the ego and the re-emergence of the oneness. And Aquarians have this built-in fear that no matter how much I love you, please don't put any ropes around my ankles. Please don't do it. I'm out of here. And then you got the most dependent sign there is, Cancer, that wants to put a rope around her ankle. Well, honey, please don't leave me and don't desert me. But I tell you what, it's unbelievably common how many Cancers end up with Aquarians. It's really common. It's not a good mix existentially, but it happens all the time. Why? It's obvious. One's got the feeling, the other one has the intellect. One is loyal. The Aquarians are unbelievably loyal. The Cancers call that being taken care of. I see so many clients with Aquarius or Moon, Uranus conflicts. It's very tough to resolve. And what you have to teach them or get the message to them is ultimately when, and this is the United States problem, when I am vulnerable is when I will succeed. And Western mind has got it wrong. We're the ego. Western mind is the ego. The more intact I am, the more unfettered I am, the better off I will be. But what they're directly saying is they're cutting off their connection to source. So when you cut your connection to source, you die. So what I write in the book about the two Aquarian people, they're since parted. Two Aquarian people came to me, man and woman, and they had these problems all their life, and they both surrendered to each other. They fell in love, and they opened up to each other, and they found this great beauty, that was beyond their rigid fears. And they became really, really close and really good. And eventually, they faded for other reasons. So eventually, the Aquarian has to give up the sense of individuality, which is the very thing that blocks them from oneness. The problem with Pisces is very simple. It's very, very simple. And I took a lot of time on Pisces in that book, because it's one of the final statements in the book is you're not here to follow everybody else's will. You're here to follow God's will. And there's a huge difference. And God's will really means my will, to one and the same. I don't know about you, but I was talking with Liza before tonight. I think this thing is really, really spreading. I'm starting to see it. People are realizing what I called a year ago the end of the age of mea culpa. People are realizing I don't have to do a whole lot of work. Carla, I don't have to do a lot of work. I don't have to do a lot of research. I don't have to line up my chakras. I don't have to breathe out of one nostril. I don't have to sit on the right side of the river. I don't have to do anything. Why? Because I'm already beautiful. I'm already godlike. I already have the answer inside. He's flowing out of me. But at the same time, Carla is a Virgo. She still needs the work. She needs the help. She needs the fix. You need to do both. You need to do both things. So that's the problem you run into with Pisces. And Pisces is all too quick to blame myself. I told one the other day, I can't remember who, that's the beautiful thing about Pisces. They're willing to blame themselves. The rest of the zodiac goes, huh? They're not going to blame themselves. Pisces is ready to say, it was me, mea culpa. But there's no way to live all your life of mea culpa, because you're doing nothing but smacking yourself on how bad you are. So you can see the phenomenal impact Neptune is having in Chiron going through Pisces. And the people in the Middle East are losing their minds, watching the Western infidels really abuse the Pisces energy, because Pisces is very, very perverted energy when it's used wrongly. Possibly your most perverted energy in the zodiac is Pisces and Gemini when it's used wrongly, because they're both anything goes. Well, when you let anything goes without a moral compass, without love at the basis of it, which is really what's there for Pisces, then you're just lost and you're kidding yourself. So with Pisces, you have to work very hard that they've got some Virgo in them, they've got some Taurus in them, even Moon in Leo, Moon in Aries, I find to be very good with Pisces people, because it helps them get grounded. They can't just space out. You can't let them just space out. So that's our little tour of the whole zodiac. The book helps you a lot more, because it's step by step, explains how they work. So when I talk about these things, I'm not necessarily talking about a Pisces. It might be somebody with a T-square to a moon in Pisces. It might be somebody with Pisces rising. It's the energy itself. So you need to get a balance. And nobody I've ever seen has a balance of all 12. That's not going to happen. But it's awful nice if you can get about 5 or 6 of them in balance. And any one of them will turn you wacko. Any one of them. If you listen to it. They all lie to you. All of them. If you listen, I'm a Scorpio. If you listen to Pluto, you'll be all, shh, listen to Pluto. Don't do it. Don't do it to any of them. Because they're all trying to get you to rely on the one. And you can't do it. I think we missed Scorpio. We did not miss Scorpio. We did Scorpio last week. We talked simply about self-hatred. They had to turn it into self-compassion. And that's really the main thing. They need to show compassion. They're very tough on themselves. Yeah. Okay, right. I got my okay from her. Okay. Before I move on to Miss Oprah, feel free. Hi, John. Alzheimer's. She's got Alzheimer's. I don't think so. Before I move on, any questions at all? Don't be afraid. If you're seeing charts, you're not sure what to do with certain pieces, your best bet, if there is a panacea, is to take the problem energy and go right across the zodiac. Whatever the problem is, go right across the zodiac. That's what you need more of. In general. If you've got too much Cancer, you need to get your Capricorn toughness. If you're a solid rock Capricorn and the pigeons are putting droppings on you, you need to go activate your Cancer sensitivity part. How many Cancers here? How many times are you Cancers told by people, oh, quit whining, oh, quit crying about that, oh, quit feeling things? You hear that a lot?
Yeah.
Do you?
All the time.
Oh, who was answering me there?
Me, Elkie.
Oh, yeah, we got 3 Cancers. Yeah, but what would you be like if you didn't have it? I mean, it's who you are.
I think they're just all jealous.
Well, I think in a lot of ways that's really right. I mean, Cancers can be very problematic, but in a lot of ways, I think a lot of people who can't feel are extremely jealous. They just can't feel. You guys, what is all women tonight, plus John and Jim, you guys don't know what it's like being a man, being raised. Don't feel anything. Be a soldier. Keep it inside. How many interviews do you see, these ridiculous interviews with guys fighting back their tears? I got to be a man. I got to be tough. And then they say they're sorry. What the hell are they saying they're sorry for when they start to cry? What they're saying is, I'm sorry I cried. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're getting through that, thank God. Now, the old days when you had to take care of the cave and the kid, and I had to go kill the mammoth, I mean, it was understandable. But that was a long time ago. All right, now, as I promised, I'm going to put it in the chat. You feel too much deeply. Yeah, well, sometimes you have to bring in that Capricorn control and tell the tears that they have to stop. I'm writing in here the placement. If you would like the chart of Oprah Winfrey, you can go get it here. It's at Star Self. If you would like to print it out, Oprah.jpg, right there. So if you would like, before we start talking, if you would like to you can download a copy of the chart. Her name was from the Bible. Her name was Orpah, O-R-P-A-H. It was Orpah. And everybody said it wrong, so they finally gave in and called her Oprah. A tremendous chart. I'm going to go to it right now. Now remember, I know a lot of you are pretty advanced astrologers. Some of you are beginners, and I'm going to take my time because this is for ground up. Some people have never seen a chart or how it works. I thought she was a very good choice because she's not running for president. Oh my God. I can't take any more. All right. Can you all see her chart? Born at 7:51 in the evening in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. Very poor family. January 29th, 1954. I'm not going to push it. I'm going to teach you how this is done. Now, when she was born in the late January of 54, you see the sun was at the 9th degree of Aquarius. There are 30 degrees in Aquarius. I don't have the signs showing because I just prefer it this way. There are 30 degrees in Aquarius. She's born on the 9th day. The next day, the sun would be at 10 degrees Aquarius until it got through around the 19th of January. No. 20th of February, and we go into Pisces. When she was born, Venus was in Aquarius, Mercury was in Aquarius. So right away you start to see, oh my God, I've been hearing all my life about my sun sign. Look at all the other things she has. She has Moon in Sag, Mars in Scorpio, Saturn in Scorpio. So you see that all these stories you've been hearing for so long about your sun sign it's understandable, but you've been hearing this much about yourself. Okay, now the birth time is really critical, and here's why. Okay, let's go into that day. Let's go by hours. Now, when I just changed, did you see? Do you see the word hours there? I'm going to move the chart. Do you see it moving? Okay. Let's go back to that morning. Okay. Here's sunrise. Here's that morning at 6:51. I'm going to jump by hours. This is the horizon. This is what's on top of you. This is the ascendant. Here's the sun about to rise. Venus is rising before the sun, approximately 7:51. You can't see Venus because the sun's too bright. You can't. You probably might be able to see the moon, but you can't see these other planets. An hour later, the sun gets higher. The ascendant keeps changing. The ascendant changes every 2 hours because remember, in the middle, the Earth is turning. All right, let me explain that to you. If you draw a line through the sun and it intersects the sign or constellation of Aquarius, which it will do for 30 days, it's completely different if you're looking at it, if it's behind you, if it's to your right, or if it's to your left. That's what sets up the houses. That's because the Earth is spinning. Now, no matter what you do with the Earth while it's spinning, you're still going to have to wait 30 days until the sun goes through the 30 degrees of Aquarius. That's why the chart looks weird. That's what the houses are. All right. So you can see at 8:51 in the morning, if she were born an hour later, the sun keeps getting higher and higher. But notice as I keep moving, the planets stay in relationship to the zodiac. The moon is still in Sag, Mars is in Scorpio. So the planets are moving, but so are the signs of the zodiac. Because what's really turning is this, us in the middle. So she gets to noon, she gets into the afternoon, she gets into the afternoon, the sun is starting to set. The rising sign is Cancer, is starting to set. Now we see the sun has set. We get to 6:51. I think she's born at 7:51. Yes. So the sun is set. This is between sunset and midnight. So if the sun is at anybody in the world is born near midnight, the sun will be in this area, be in a different sign. Anybody in the world ever born at noon, the sun will be in this area, 9th or 10th house, near the midheaven. Anybody at sunrise, sunset. This is their birth chart. So once it's locked in place, and this is why we are fanatical about birth time, it locks the chart. We have Virgo rising. When she was born, her rising sign was Virgo. Her ascendant is Virgo. Same thing. 3 important things about a chart, real important. Your sun sign, which is in Aquarius. The moon goes around once a month. Once a month. So during that month of Aquarius, that moon goes through all 12 signs. It goes through a full moon stage. It goes through a new moon stage. And each day, the zodiac turns completely. We get all 12 signs rising. So when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, this happens about every 15 days. They made it sound like it was once every epoch. They had the wrong words. So when she was born, the sign of Virgo was rising. The moon was in Sag. So you can already see 12 times 12 times 12. Look at the permutations. Hey, I'm an Aquarian. Hey, I'm an Aquarian. Well, just taking the moon into place, there are 12 different kinds of Aquarians. There's Aquarians with moon in Aquarius. There's Aquarians with moon in Pisces. Aquarians with moon in Aries, etc. And the moon, since it describes your emotional nature, where the sun is more of your ego nature, you can see that she is very much a blend of an Aquarius and a Sagittarius, because the moon was in Sag. Now you mix in the rising sign, now you got 12 times 12 times 12 possible combinations, permutations. So she is an Aquarian with a moon in Sag and a Virgo rising. And this is how you get single, double, or triple. I am double because I'm born at sunrise. So I have Capricorn rising with a Capricorn sun, but my moon is in Pisces. She is just a single Aquarian. Okay, so she got Jupiter up here rising towards the midheaven. The planets move in a clockwise fashion. The signs move in a counterclockwise fashion. This is their chart. You could study this chart for days, weeks. It's extremely powerful. The reason I picked her chart is not only because she's very popular to all of us, but because this woman could have gone south very quickly, and she didn't, and that's why she's worth $3.84 billion today. She had enough hatred in her soul, enough crime, not the word crime, enough pain, enough hardship. She could have very easily gone south and chosen the lower road. But she has enough Scorpio in her and enough Aquarius in her and whatever else. This is an extremely victorious chart, but not because of the placement of the planets, but because what she decided to do with her challenges. Karen and the rest of you have been in my classes. I tell my students, in my opinion, when you look at a chart, there are 4 things to look at. It will help you, because when you start to read, you're so overwhelmed, you don't know what you're looking at. 1, things you already know, things you know for sure. She's an Aquarius. She's probably friendly. She's probably loyal. Things you know. 2, things you will never know. There are things in this chart that are so complex that you'll never know, and you get 100 astrologers and they'll never figure it out. It's just too complicated. Give it a shot, but don't worry about it. 3, things that are karmic. Things you can't understand why, but they're probably coming from another lifetime, another dimension. You're not sure, but I've learned without a doubt in my past couple of years that much more stuff comes from the past life than we have any idea. we're all busy blaming mommy, daddy. And a lot of our stuff came from the past life. And I work with that heavily when I read. The fourth dimension is what I told my students I call blinking. Blinking. I'll explain to you what I mean by that, which means I don't know. This is the secret. For example, we look at this extremely powerful Pluto opposition to Mercury. In the books say, here's the mind, Mercury, a very scientific, objective, studious mind, opposite this very powerful Pluto, 4 degrees of difference, 20 degrees, 24. Well, the books tell you all these things about it. But I tell you, reserve judgment. Investigate it. We don't know what's happened to this woman. Is she overwhelmed by other people's minds? Does this mean she had, like the books say, people telling you you're stupid all the time? This is a mind that is inferior. A mind that's inferior when it faces the masses. That's what this means. Well, are you going to assume that's true, or are you going to talk to her, let her express herself? What I think is she was challenged with this, and that's one of the motivating factors that made her work hard to improve her mind. That's what I mean by blinking. Most of the chart is blinking. Most of the chart has things in it that you got to sense it's this way. You got to sense it's that way, but you're not sure. And the mistake the beginners make is they try to open the book and read it. You're not going to open a chart and read it. You're not that good. It's really tough. That's why you open the book and you start to get a little feeling and you discuss it with them. And believe me, clients want to tell you their story. They want help. They want you to help give them another perception of themselves. Give them another way of looking at things. Right, Pat Sharp? Ain't that right? You're darn right it is. They're not looking for a handout. They're not looking for you to take control of their life. They're just looking for, my God, it's such a mess in here sometimes. Maybe I need another way of looking at myself. That's why I make things blink. And what I kept telling my classes for years, use a pencil. A light number 3 pencil. And when you're new, you want to dive in. What does that mean? My God, what's that story? And you're not ready. I still read many, many charts where I go in and I go, my God, what am I looking at? And I just trust to keep working and keep nibbling, okay? Now, we might even continue with her chart next week because this is a big deal, this chart. Let me explain to you the pieces. All right, here are the pieces. Here are the pieces not mixed with the rest of the pie, just the ingredients. And keep it very light, and don't try to make a pie yet. You'll start to see Oprah Winfrey form. Here is the sun in Aquarius. Very loyal. It's in the 5th house, the Leo house. It's very expressive, very good on television. She cares about the people around her. She's very loyal, non-judgmental, very friendly, kind of distant and cool, very hard-headed, great researcher. Those are the basic Aquarian traits you read about in any book. Here's the moon. The moon is extremely strong. Why? Not because it's in Sagittarius, but it's right at the beginning of the 4th house. The 4th house is like the 4th sign of Cancer. And any planet in a house, remember, each planet is in a sign and a house. So the planet is in Sag, but the planet is in the early stages of the 4th house. Well, the strongest part of the 4th house is right here on this line. This means that this woman is very motherly. She's very lunar. Why? Because the moon is the ruler of Cancer. I'm not going to say she's Cancerian. I'm going to say she's very lunar. Now, I told you right away before, the number one thing an Aquarian needs is feelings. She's got them right there. She's not just a cold, aloof Aquarian. She's got tremendous emotion, motherly, nurturing feelings that come from that moon. Very powerful. That's just 2 planets. The moon in Sag means she's fun-loving, wants to have a good time, joyousness with everybody. You can see the rapport she has with her audience. I'm not even going to go very deep. 5 personal planets. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars. They move fast. Most horoscopes are contained about with these 5 planets. They move so quickly they describe the personality. The outer planets move very slowly. Mercury, mind. What kind of mind does she have? Well, Mercury is in Aquarius. It can only be in 3 places. It can only be in Aquarius or next door, Capricorn or Pisces. So Mercury in Aquarius means she has a very strong mind. She's got great concentration. She can organize. She can organize her thoughts and do research. It's in the 6th house, which is the Virgo house, which means at work, she really can apply herself. She's a humane thinker, thinks big, thinks about everybody. Now we've just done Sun, Moon, and Mercury. We haven't even done that much. We've already painted a pretty nice picture. But boy, is it going to change. And boy, did it used to change in the old days when we did this all by pencil. And you would write down where the planet was. Oh, boy, does that change things. Then you'd write a planet Saturn opposite me. Oh, boy, does that change things. So there was a whole different experience doing these things by hand as opposed to a computer popping up the whole chart. Venus. Venus and Mars are very important. Venus and Mars. This is your sexual nature. She's very highly sexual. Venus is your receptive part, even for men too. Mars is your aggressive part. Your receptive nature, how you like to be treated. Mars, how you treat. They really need to be in harmony or else you'll have trouble socializing. You'll not be receptive or you'll not be engaging. Well, her Venus is in Aquarius too. So we know she's extremely friendly. And look at that. The Sun and Venus are at the same degree. They're both at 9 degrees. 1 minute apart. 9:38, 9:39. They're 60 minutes. So she's almost precisely Sun-Venus. Well, the meaning of somebody with Sun-Venus is they have a natural, I don't care what you do to them, they have a natural joy of life. They love life. With all the abuse she took, thank goodness, this is usually earned from past life good karma. She loves people. She just loves people. She's friendly. You can sense this. Also very beautiful souls. I think so too, yes. Remember, it's not that rare because the Sun and Venus don't get that far apart because Venus is closer to the Sun than the Earth is. But still, it's a marvelous sign that she's got great Aquarian skills. And that we're going to start to see how she's affected the masses. And what you're eventually going to see with this chart is this chart has very little to do with an individual. She is an avatar. We're going to see this later. She's an avatar of a birth of a whole. Matter of fact, she could be the leading lady bringing in the age of Aquarius. It's that big. And when you do that kind of big level stuff, that has to show up with harmonic charts. That has to show up with outer planets. Okay, so she's very, very friendly, but we're already starting to slip. We're already starting to slip. She's got a 9th sign of Sag in her moon, the 11th sign her sun, Mercury's the 11th sign. She's already starting to be too universal. She's getting to be too out there. Where is she going to connect to people? Where does she have a connection to inner planets? Well, we already saw that. That came about beautifully right there because the moon is so strong. It's so Cancerian. It's so invite you to my home. Let me fix you some chicken soup. Let me take care of you. You got a really strong personal planet right in the middle of the chart. That was saving grace. You could feel her heart. She got a great heart. All right. Fifth and final personal planets, Mars. Big deal in this chart. Mars and Scorpio. Mars and Scorpio in the old days before Pluto, Mars was the ruling planet of Scorpio, so it's well placed there. Why? Because Mars wants what it wants and it goes and gets it. In Scorpio, you're not going to deny Scorpio. I want what I want, I'm going to go get it. This is a very powerful sexual drive, and it's not just sexual drive, it's a passionate drive. So what she's after, she's going to go after. So now that concludes the 5 personal planets. You have the very much Aquarian with Sun, Venus, and Mercury. You've got the moon in Sag, which is fun, but more importantly, the moon itself is really strengthened by being along the nadir here, this angle that's given to us from the birth time. And you got the very powerful Mars in the 3rd house, which is the house of communicating. So when she wants to communicate, she's not dilly-dallying. She's Mars in Scorpio. She's delivering the blow. Mars in Scorpio is intense. I got something to say and I'm going to say it. She doesn't have to point her finger. It just comes out of her passion. So you see what we got already with 5 personal planets. We haven't even touched the outer planets. You see how a chart starts to take shape. So you see the planets fell in the signs. They also fell in the houses. And believe me, I could teach you for 10 weeks just about the houses. But that's not what this class is. This class is unplugged. And Amy put up the fireplace last week. We have a fireside chat, and we had a fire last week. And Amy won a free reading, so she did very well with her free reading. Okay, but you can see what this chart's telling you is, without thinking too much, you don't want to think too much, you're getting a great big blinking. This woman's got a very important moon. What does that mean? Does that mean mom's important? Does that mean, listen to the moon. The moon is so complex. My background and the roots of Mississippi. Does it mean my property? Does it mean my heritage? Does it mean my family? She's been married to the same guy since '86. Does it mean my emotions, my mama? I mean, when you see her on the screen in these movies, she comes across as a mama force, doesn't she? She's a mama force. An earth mama force. Well, you ain't gonna shake her. And that's because she's got that tremendous sense of righteousness, that sense of Aquarius Sag. Aquarius Sag are the 2 signs that are out for causes and fighting for the common man. Aquarius Sag, she's rooted in them. All right, now comes the trouble.
She's not married though.
But okay, but she lives with it.
It's just FYI.
Yeah. Okay. Correct. I stand corrected. Which is very Aquarian not to be married. I just got a look from Liza. It's very Aquarian. No sign of the zodiac, no sign does as well on their own than Aquarians. Did you know, by the way, there are 2 signs that get, let's see. Gemini is a sign that gets bored. They're an air sign. Aquarius is a sign that has no idea what boredom means. None. Because Aquarius is, my God, I'm not looking here, I look over here. Everything it looks at is so fascinating. Gemini's quite different. Am I keeping you awake, John? Just checking in. Okay. Now we get really, really interesting. Now, what this Mercury-Pluto is really, really powerful because it's going on between the 6th house and the 12th house, and you know right away that something karmic is happening because the 12th house is one very deeply mysterious place. We don't understand. Pluto-Mercury is oftentimes, you're stupid, you're never going to grow up to be anything, you don't have any mind, you can't think, you're dumb. That's what Pluto-Mercury can be. It can also be, and this is where the books will fail you. The books will tell you some hard-coded answer. That's why you have to interview the client. Did your parents make you feel dumb? No. How was it with your dad? Oh, he was brilliant. You gotta read Stephen Arroyo, and you have to understand that these aspects between planets are very flexible things, and you have to wonder, there's a problem with the mind opposite Pluto. Given, it's there. There is a problem there. Most of the time when you have a problem, it's what drives you to have a great mind, and then we find out this is the woman whose mind is affecting millions, right? And that Pluto in that sense is representing the collective. You could have a Mercury and Pluto where your two parents are professors. You feel stupid. No one ever says anything, but you feel stupid because you look at and you got them on such a pedestal. That could be the problem. But nobody tried to make you feel stupid. But we know there's an issue with it. And what usually happens with something like that is she ends up making sure you don't feel stupid. I'm going to do what I can to inform you so you don't feel stupid, so you don't have to go through it. That's how it comes out. Very tough stuff, deep stuff. Astrology is not simple. Now, they both make a right angle to Mars. Mercury opposite Pluto to Mars. Mercury at 20, Pluto at 24, Mars at 24, 2356. Pluto and Mars are so close. When they're that close, it's almost always a symbol of molestation. She went through lots of molestation as a child, starting at age 9. And I'm going to tell you, when you're with clients, and clients are more and more ready to talk about it and reveal it, ask them if you want. Now, talking about molestation can be very delicate, so I never jump in. Some people offer it right away. What I will say, if I really think I need to go there, I will say, Carla, did you have a man around you, a male force around you that was kind of ultra overbearing in your life? And most people will get the hint. They'll either say, shut the door, I don't want to talk about it. Most people won't. Most people will say, yeah, I was molested. But that pressure from that Mercury, Pluto, Mercury, Pluto, Mercury, Pluto, that's what oppositions do. They just ping pong back and forth in your mind. They send all that energy to that Mars. That Mars is a powerhouse. That is an extremely powerful Mars. Do you see it? This is how you learn to read charts, and you learn to weight things. Which one weighs more than another? This power coming through this woman's Mars is unbelievable. This could have made her a killer. She could have been very underhanded. She could have worked with the mafia. She could have done a lot of things. She could have been a slasher, slashing her own body. I mean, a lot of things she could have done with this power. And one of the great things that she had was our Aquarius was able to make her remain aloof, be objective to herself. We're going to be a while on this chart. This chart is very complex. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. We do know now that she's famous, that the woman has great capacity to help rape victims, to be very sensitive to issues like that. And that's where that comes from. That's one of the biggest things you will learn is the number one thing you're going to do with clients is talk about their direction. The number two thing you're going to talk about is their love life. Number one, their direction. You're not going anywhere unless you're fueled. You're just not going anywhere unless you've got a trauma behind it, something somebody said, something somebody did, and I can dig into it, but usually it's based upon an early trauma, and that trauma was all set up before this lifetime. It was agreed to before this lifetime. It comes out of the past life. It comes into your meeting with your guardian angels, with your guides, and you set up the minute you're going to be born in the city, in the family, and all that. So she knew about the rape. She knew about all that. Okay, this is really getting heavy stuff. Now, aren't you glad you're using a pencil? It's going to get really deep. So we know that the Mars is really, really powerful. All of our bad experience lead us to be great teachers. Yes, exactly right. And you're with the if. She could have just turned bitter. She could have just turned bitter. That's exactly right. That's one reason this chart is such an extreme victory. You'll see it with Obama, too. Now, I want to go somewhere else. What I tell people is leave it alone. You made a couple light pencil marks on the chart. It's blinking. Let it sit there. I'll go around my clients and I go, oh, I'm not sure what this means. And we'll talk. I'm not sure. And I just stop and I let it sit there. And I revisit it. I go to, you see in many parts of the chart will talk to you. It will reveal itself because it wants to, and so do they. So, okay. Running out of time, so we'll complete this next week. Now, look up and down this midheaven. Any planet in the chart that's born along the four angles, the ascendant, the descendant, the midheaven, the nadir, the ascendant, the descendant, the midheaven, and the nadir. These are the four angles that are totally determined by the birth time. Okay? I want to point out one more thing. The houses are not 30 degrees each. The signs of the zodiac are. Especially if you're born in Norway, houses can be tiny or they can be huge. That's got to do with the way the earth is tilted. Don't worry about it. There's a lot of trig involved. She has a Gemini midheaven. She has a Virgo nadir, Virgo ascendant, a Sagittarian nadir, and Pisces descendant. All four of those fall in the classification of mutable. Those are the four mutable signs. That really helps this chart because she's got so much concentrated energy. With this concentrated Scorpio, Aquarius, it's so concentrated. That's what fixed signs do. She now has the ability to give it out, to express it, to throw it out, to be on TV, to give it. She gives out presents. Moon in Sag, Virgo, giving out help. Jupiter and Gemini, giving out information, etc., etc. So she's not clogged up inside. And the biggest problem in the chart has not even been revealed yet. It's the Saturn in Scorpio squared to that Venus. And that's really super heavy. That's do or die stuff. The Saturn squared to the Venus is so close coming out of a Saturn in Scorpio. This is a do or die type of aspect. We'll get back to that. Now, up and down the midheaven, let's talk a second about what that means. The ascendant is who I am. The descendant is who I am when I'm with you. The descendant is also the seventh house, the marriage house, relationship house. Well, a lot of people think you have to have a lot of things there to have a happy marriage. That's not true. This just describes how you are, personally, how you are with others. The midheaven is where are you going to? Where have I been? How did I start? What's calling me? This is very public, very public. There she's got Jupiter, the big, huge planet like Elke has. She's got Jupiter in Gemini instead of Elke's is over here. Oprah's is right over here at the top of the chart. That's the TV star. That's the woman big expressing information. But see what she's got? She got that Jupiter, and Jupiter is very much, I hate to say this, but it's very much like a guardian angel. Why do you think Hillary keeps getting away with everything? Her Jupiter's right there. Hillary's Jupiter's right there on the ascendant, we think. But that Jupiter feeds right into that moon that I was questioning. A moon in Sag, which is ruled by Jupiter, this is like a moon in quadruple Sag. It's strengthened by the Jupiter being opposite the moon. Any planets that fall along these lines get greatly expanded. So we see that she really has a Jupiter in Sag, so strong. And what that means is no matter how bad and hard thing gets, like that Saturn and Scorpio squaring that Venus is very rough, and a Pluto square Mars, which is very rough, she's got so much Sag in her, which is let it go. Quit worrying about it. Let's rise above. Let's be happy. Let's have fun. Without that, she couldn't overcome all this. I'm going to stop on this chart now. And the purpose is not to grill you to death on this chart. The purpose was to start to show you, in every chart you're going to look at is so different, how the energies are. And right now, we've only made about 7 or 8 or 9 pencil marks on that chart. So, I've got a lot of charts in my files, a lot of famous people. We'll be going to bringing up the chart. I do want to show you one thing before I close the books on her. Look at this. You see how powerful this nadir is with that moon there? All right. Growing up, Uranus goes around every 84 years. Every 84 years, Uranus. It's the exciter. It's the stimulator. Things come out of nowhere. And when Uranus hit here on the moon, when Uranus crossed here is when she went on TV. It woke up that Jupiter. What happened to me is I got planets in my 9th house of media. Uranus is now opposite my 9th house planets. And I knew, and I told my girlfriend years ago, something's going to hit that Mars Neptune in my 9th house. And I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I'm going to be broadcasting it. I don't know. And that's the show. So what we're going to see is we're going to see how planets come into people's lives and cause things to happen. We're going to do much more next week. I think I'm going to spend the whole time on her chart, because you see how much is there. Not to beat you to death with it, but just to show you, keeping away from the heavy advanced stuff, just to show you how a chart is read. Any one of those planets could have been somewhere else. We see a woman with great passion that did not have to succeed. She could have killed herself a long time ago. She could have become a nobody. And we see, for whatever reason, she became very victorious. And near the end of the reading with her, I will show you how she is an avatar, and how the Oprah Book Club, she tells people what to read. She tells people who they are, how to think.
Rick, could I say,
Sure.
I had years ago an acquaintance, probably last 10 years ago, who was invited to be on Oprah. Oprah's in Chicago, was in Chicago at the time. And I can't remember what they were going to talk about, but when the lady got back, she told us that she was incredibly disappointed in Oprah, because when they were backstage, she would ignore them, she would be rude. The cameras rolled and she was, hi, and she was this sweet woman. She said that woman is putting on a show. I'm just sharing this because I want to see if you can see that in the chart. Not now.
I am going to do absolutely zero with that information. Nothing.
But it's real.
I am going to do zero with that unless I'm there for quite a while observing it myself. because that chart is so full of so much A through Z. There is so much potential there. It's blinking so fast. This woman could be marvelous and awful at the same time. I don't know, but I've learned enough doing so many charts that I'm going to let it rest. I'm going to let that thing blink. I'm going to let it blink. She's deserved that respect from me. I mean, I've heard those awful things about Ben Roethlisberger 10 years ago. And some of them turned out to be true. He's turning out to be a pretty nice guy now. I will make that part of my list. I will keep that in mind. But the absolutely ruthless, mean energy can be there. She may have overcome it. It may also be misunderstood. We also have to understand, what is it like with 17 billion people jumping on you every day? I'm going to definitely withhold judgment.
It was just for what it's worth.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I will keep that in mind, and we'll keep looking and studying. But I just have to think, I have to look at the fruits of this woman. What are the fruits like? I don't think she's just an empire builder. I think she's too big for that. I will tell you that Saturn square Venus is so tough. It is so, coming out of Scorpio, being exact, it's very difficult for anybody with that to be warm and receptive. It's really hard, because that's what that means, is somebody, I got you, just like that bug was warm and receptive. It's very difficult, and on the surface, it means that. On the surface, it means somebody is mean and cold and resistant. That's what that one aspect means, but you saw a lot of the chart. There's a lot to her. Okay, so the point tonight is there's a lot in charts. Be patient. You need to look at tens of thousands of charts, not 10, 20, 50, 100. Just keep doing what Elke's doing. Elke's just studying and studying and chart after chart after chart after chart. That's how you learn. And when I turn this off, I'm going to watch crime shows, and I'm going to get people's birthdays and go, no wonder, look at that. And you got to be obsessed. You just got to keep doing charts. You can ask Karen, my wonderful student. It's tough. John, very good student. It's tough. You got to just keep doing it. And the kind of information you just gave me, Carla, is really good, because you got to put that piece in the mix, and you got to say, well, I just heard that. Also, we have very strong indications here, don't we? Of how many great leaders turned sour when they got older. I mean, that story is really prevalent. Look at Muhammad. You know, lots of them. We don't know. But I've learned astrology. For instance, I will see a murderer with Venus and Pisces. Venus and Pisces is probably the greatest thing you'll see. It's true love, true unconditional love. And I know that murderer, serial killer, I don't care what he's like. I know that if I visit him, there's going to be a part of him that's going to be really just lovely. Because that's what the planets are. Now, he may pick up a knife in 10 minutes. But the planets don't lie. That's one other thing for you beginners. Listen to your clients, look at your clients, but don't believe your eyes. Put your eyes number 2. Believe the chart. The chart is telling you, and mix it all together. So tonight was really, really good. A lot of stuff. We got that fireplace turned up. Any questions from anybody, really? I'm going to stop the recording.